Hello, my name is Melissa, and I'm the admissions counselor for Kent State Trumbull. With me today is Nicolette Fenlock. She is one of our assistant directors in enrollment management student services. She specializes in financial aid, and her passion is to help students through this process. The FAFSA does not have to be intimidating. We're going to break it down for you today. Just some concise, common questions. We'll give you those answers, and then we'll also give you references for more information. You will notice below this video, there are some links that Nicolette's going to reference in her talk. You can use those and you can always reach out to us for more information. So thank you, Nicolette, for being on today. And first, let's start with an easy question. Why would you recommend that every student complete a FAFSA application?
Sounds good. Thank you, Melissa. So the FAFSA is not a requirement for admission to a university. And it's not required that you use financial aid to pay your tuition, but we always recommend that all of our students complete the FAFSA every year, and that's for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I want you to know what you are eligible for in financial aid. We want to know if you are grant eligible, that is gift aid that will pay towards your tuition. And if you are offered student loans through the financial aid process, you're not required to accept those loans, but we will coach you through accepting or declining those loans. So it's helpful for you to know that. Secondly, there are scholarships, grants, emergency grants that do require you have a FAFSA on file to be eligible for those. And we want you to be eligible for as most aid as possible. So those are the two main reasons we always recommend. You will always hear, have you completed your FAFSA?
Thank you, Nicolette. So when do you recommend a family would complete their FAFSA application?
Right, so the FAFSA becomes available on October 1 of each year. So you may have started it or completed it already. If you have not done so, there is still time. It is available year round, although you may have heard the priority processing deadline for most universities is around February. If you're watching this video anywhere between March and August and you haven't yet started your FAFSA, please do so as soon as possible. And then looking ahead on October 1 of this year, 2021, next year's FAFSA will become available. Just make sure if you're planning for fall 21 that you are completing the 21-22 FAFSA.
Thank you. And if a family is looking to complete a FAFSA application, where should they start? How should they prepare for that process?
Sure, that's a great question because getting started is often the hardest part. So there's still time, but get started as soon as possible. And the very first thing that I'd like you to do is set up two folders. So one folder is going to be student information and one folder is going to be parent information. If you are a dependent student, you're going to be required to provide parent information on the FAFSA. So before you even sit down and start the application, you're going to start gathering information for both student and parent and keeping it separate in the separate folders. Organization is key with all things financial aid and payment. So gather things like biographical information, full legal name, date of birth, social security number, and 2019 income information for both student and parent. Students, this is a great time to start making a list of all of the schools you will, considering attending this fall. So you want to make sure Kent State University is listed on the FAFSA and anywhere else you have applied. Parent information. So this could be parent 1 and 2. There will be space for parent 1 and 2 on the FAFSA. This is legal parents only, and this is parents in your household. So for example, it could just be a parent 1. There could be a parent 1 and 2 in separate households. Therefore, you're choosing one household, and it might be a parent and a step parent. So if this is an area that feels a little muddled to you, take a look at the links below, and there's a link specific to parent information and who is my parent when I fill out the FAFSA. And this is a topic I would be more than happy to speak with you about one-on-one. So you do need to determine whose information you're providing for parent 1 and 2. The next step is going to be to create an FSA ID for both the student and the parent. And this is where those folders come in handy because I don't want you to get this information mixed up. Student, let's start with your FSA ID. This is your mechanism to log into your FAFSA. This is also what you will use to sign your FAFSA. So as you're creating it, I recommend you use an email address that you will have because you will need this over the years. As I mentioned, it's a yearly process. So an email address, like not a high school address that will maybe expire after this year. Also, students, you want to make sure you are using your own email and not your parent's email because your parent will be creating their own separate FSA ID. Okay. So set those up, maybe put that information in the parent folder and the student folder, and then it's time to get started. So you will go to studentaid.gov. Please make sure you're always on a .gov website, never a .com site. This is a free application, so we don't want to see you paying to complete this. You'll sign in with your student FSA ID, and you'll get started. You'll work your way through the questions. If you get to a point where you're not sure what to answer, you will see a little blue question mark next to each field. You can click on that blue question mark. It will expand and give you more information about what are they asking for. You can also look across the top of each page in the FAFSA. There will be a blue banner. It will say student information or parent information. This is extremely helpful because oftentimes when we have errors on the FAFSA, it's because you've mixed up the student and parent information. So look at that blue banner each time you advance through. And then keep in mind, you can stop and start. You can create a save key, go gather further information, and return and finish the application later. And so I always recommend you take your time, you work your way through it. Maybe you set aside an hour and you double check it when you get to the end and make sure all the information is accurate.
Thank you for breaking that down, Nicolette. So like I said, FAFSA doesn't have to be intimidating. Just start with that first step. Get some folders out, get organized with your paperwork, keeping student and parent separate. Do the same with creating your FSA ID, and then just start with question number 1, work your way through. What happens after the FAFSA is sent to Kent State University, Nicolette?
Sure. So once you've signed the FAFSA, you'll see a place where it'll be student signature. You'll use your student FSA ID to sign, and then parent signature, parent FSA ID will sign. You'll get a confirmation page and you'll receive a student aid report from FAFSA giving you a brief outline of what you may be eligible for. But then all of your information needs to process and arrive at the university. That can take a little bit of time depending on the time of year. So maybe 1 to 3 weeks for the university to review your FAFSA and send you a financial aid offer. So we will either let you know right away, this is what you're eligible for in terms of financial aid, or we will let you know you have outstanding financial aid requirements. All of these communications will come to your Kent State email address, and we will remind you of any outstanding requirements or financial aid awards in your Destination Kent State orientation program. That's where you're going to get the nitty-gritty details of the status of your FAFSA. So today's an intro, and then more details to come at that time. That may be as early as April, or it may be sometime throughout the summer. So, depending on when you apply and are admitted and sign up for that placement assessment as your first step in the process, really depends on your timeline. So we'll work with you whether that timeline is starting now or starting midsummer.
Okay, great. So Kent State has the FAFSA application for the specific student. What happens then if they find out they were selected for verification? What is that? What should they do? Should they freak out?
Do not panic if you're selected for verification. It is quite common. Every university across the country is required by federal aid to select a certain amount of students for verification. So it's not anything to be afraid of, but it is something that's important to complete as soon as possible. It will require additional paperwork, which I would be more than happy to coach you through that paperwork. There are links at the bottom of the video that will get you right to that paperwork. We will notify you again via your Kent State email if you are selected for verification, and we cannot offer you financial aid until you complete the verification process. So it will delay things for you. The closer we get to August, the longer it may take to review that paperwork once you submit it. So as soon as possible, if you can work your way through it, and I'd be happy to talk with you about that one-on-one.
Great. Thank you, Nicolette. I know that's a common question. Here's another one, especially with the way that the pandemic has affected people's income. What happens if there's a change in income from, when they're filing the FAFSA or their tax information till now?
Yeah, that is a really popular topic right now. So you may be thinking, well, if my FAFSA requires 2019 household income information and things have drastically changed in 2020, rest assured there is a way to account for that. And it's called a special circumstance application. We will put a link below so that you can read more about the special circumstance process, but I'd really like to speak with you one-on-one about that so we can go over what has changed in the past year for your family and how can we account for that. If you complete the application, we will send it in for review by a committee, and then it takes a couple weeks and you'll receive an answer if your financial aid offer was adjusted.
Fantastic. Thank you. So, if somebody does want to reach out to you with any questions about anything in this video or anything else financial aid related, first of all, I encourage you do. This is an expert in the field, so please ask your questions. You can't feel like you're on your own in all of this. But what should they do, Nicolette? How can they contact you best?
Well, let me just start by saying if you are in your FAFSA application and you're having trouble, especially if it's after hours, evening, weekends, check out that FAFSA helpline link that we put below the video. That's the Federal Student Information Center. These are the FAFSA experts. So if you're not sure about something, they have late and extended hours. You can contact FAFSA directly. Moving on from that, I mentioned verification, special circumstance, just understanding financial aid or any general questions. Absolutely, please reach out to us directly. And Melissa, I think we'll share our website now. If you can bring that up and we'll show you. This will give me a chance to introduce you to all of the ways that you can contact us. So you're going to see here a link to make an appointment. So schedule a phone or video appointment. These are 30-minute appointments here. You can click there and you can choose your day and time. We will send you a link to a video call and we will just talk through anything that's on your mind. Below that, you will see that we offer virtual walk-ins. So you'll view the days and times on the site there. If it's during that time, you'll click on Access Virtual Walk-ins and it will take you to a virtual lobby where you will be welcomed by a receptionist. They will then move you into a one-on-one video call with a financial aid counselor. We can talk with you then. You will also see further towards the bottom, all of our financial aid staff here at Kent State Trumbull. You'll see myself, you will see Darlene Thorne, and you will see Mary Beth Eckenroad, and you'll see our pictures there. Right below that, you're going to see phone numbers and email addresses. So if you'd like to contact us directly, we are available year-round, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And I want you to just choose the method of contact, whether it be appointment, walk-ins, email, phone, whatever works best for you, and we'll be happy to help.
Thank you, Nicolette. Thank you so much for all of this information. And thank you, viewers, for watching. I hope that you found this helpful. And I know that you are on your way to a successful college education. So thank you all.